we have the magician here. But then we have one more speaker now before the magic act. So I would like to call up Blessing Emma as she takes the citation of the next speaker. Please, a round of applause for Blessing Emma. A round of applause for Blessing Emma. And also, keep taking pictures. Tag us on Instagram and on Twitter. Use the hashtag right here. I'll still pick people at random. Then also, the $100 giveaway is still up. Go and register at Crypto Locally.
Thank you very much, Theophilus. Thank you.
Good afternoon, guys. Can we all give a round of applause to Blockchain OAU? I'm really, really impressed with what they are doing here. Frankly, I'm really impressed. Big ups, guys. So, I'm Austin Okere, and I'm actually a sub-governance member of Freeton Africa. So, Freeton is a blockchain, and it's still young. I know many of you here that are into crypto will be saying Freeton. It's still young, just got launched last year, 7th of May last year. So Freeton, as the name sounds, free and then ton. I'll get to the free and then to the ton. It's built on the concept of freedom, free internet, free software. That's the concept that is built upon. And then it's designed to be really scalable, like a globally scalable solutions, the protocol in itself. So if you look at what's happening, some of the speakers have talked about the Web3, Web 1, Web 2, up to the Web 3. You notice something in common there. Everything that you do right now is being stored on the internet. Those sites all have the service provider they are using. They could either be using Google Cloud or Amazon or Microsoft Azure. They could be using any one of it. So when you hear the word decentralization, actually it's beginning to turn into a buzzword now. Everyone throwing it around, every blockchain project throwing decentralization around. But if you look at it, decentralization as it implies, like let me give an example now. If we're in this hall now, like right in this hall now, and this section here right now, the top guys here, let me just say like 3 people knows that the people that provide node or the validators are actually from this angle. You know where they are, you know their location. Can you call that decentralization? Of course you can call it. Some blockchains around have their validators scattered around the world, and the top guys there, they know where those validators are. Can you actually call that decentralization? I'm not trying to like talk down on some of the blockchain. I'm not mentioning names. But if you are to approach decentralization, you have to look at it from the very top to the down. So decentralization, let me give another example, like during what happened to Trump. I'm not trying to bring any political talk here or whatsoever. There is a social network that some of them we are using, Bella. So during when the heat was really, really high, that network got blocked out because they were using AWS, Amazon Web Service, to do their storage and all that. They got cut out. So imagine that they were using like a DSN, decentralized service network, like to do their storage, decentralized storage network to do their storage. They couldn't have been blocked out. We talk about freedom. But if we look, right now we are being boxed. The internet is being boxed, too much censorship. We are being boxed around. So yes, I like regulations, what they are bringing into crypto, it's fine. But then regulations should be on the exchanges, which is fine. The decentralization crypto was created to be anonymous, that's fine. It was created to be anonymous, but then exchanges are bossing us, KYC, they are keeping us on the angle, that's fine. That's fine, but then if we are to have blockchain, let us have truly decentralized blockchains. Truly decentralized. Talking about Freeton now, if I can talk, I will just talk. It's big to summarize it, but I'm going to try as much as I can within the short time I have. If you were to talk about scalability now, scalability too is another thing that is really plaguing this space. Like, I know Solana now could be thrown out as the fastest blockchain, but do you know that that record has been broken? Freeton has broken that record. We had a Rust Cup that just concluded, I think 12th of August, just this last month. And Solana was scaling at, when they did their own test, they had 50,000. They stopped at 50,000. That was their TPS, transaction per second. But Freeton broke it in the Rust Cup, 56,000 transactions per second. That's another aspect. Solana is fine. They are doing great things on their own, really a fantastic blockchain. And then, if you're to really go deeper to look around what's happening, you notice that majority of, again, all these other blockchains do what we call ICOs or IEO or pre-sale, depending on the angle they want to call it. But the most important one is ICO. Freeton never had an ICO. What Freeton does is bring value, you get something. Basically, anyone can fit in. You could be in PR, you could be in graphics. There's just something you can bring that you bring value, so you get tokens in return. So Freeton runs in a decentralized system. We have the general governance coming down to the sub-governances. So it's really, really big trying to summarize what they are doing, the NFT sub-governance, the DeFi sub-governance. So it goes on, the analytics sub-governance. Even in the country level, you have the Vietnamese, you have the Japanese scattered around, coming down. You have the France sub-governance, the Latvia. So it spread even to Africa. Because actually, when I got to know Freeton, that was last year. Freeton was launched on May 7th last year. So I studied how the team was and all that. I noticed that one thing in Africa, we all have our own different problems. As much as we have our own different problems, they are unique, but then Africa, as Africans, we can know how to tackle our problems. So that was how I now made a proposal to start an African, to create an African part of Freeton. That was how we now started to push it to reach the level of it being recognized as a decentralized top governance under Freeton. So right now, talking about the African side of it, we have many programs, contests going on. Let me talk about the hackathon, which is for students. The last hackathon that we had, really, really impressive, and we had participants from all Africa. And at the end of that hackathon, the winner got to win some tons, which as at then market value was, I think, $22,000 or $23,000 to help him build what he was trying to develop. So even right now, we have the second edition going on, and we are going to have the grand finale in, I think, around October. Yeah, in South Africa. Although registrations are closed, but then we'll still have subsequent editions coming, whereby students, even if you have heard of hackathon now, you now say it's just developers. But the hackathon right now is being run in groups. You can have an idea, but you're not a developer. You have a really fantastic idea, but then you're not a developer. A developer could be a developer, but then doesn't have ideas. So you could team up. You bring your own idea. The developer has his own side. So there could be, you combine, and you're able to present your ideas and contest. So there are contests going around. We call it have the volunteer mentorship, which I know some of you here might have tuned in at some point, which is still part of blockchain education. So we have a whole lot of things coming up in Freeton and it's scaling. As much as I can, if I want to really go deep, talk of the DeFi, talk of the NFT, talk of SMM, sub-governance, they are just huge to summarize. But then I will tell you something for sure. Freeton is trying to create a free internet. Free in the sense of internet being free, not centralized. And then bringing decentralization in the true form of decentralization. Not decentralization, but then at the end of the day, that decentralization is a glorified centralized entity, which we all know there are some centralized blockchains which are still scaling, which their speed is still fantastic. But Freeton now can boast of its transaction to be equivalent that of maybe PayPal or Visa even though PayPal and Visa are all centralized. Yeah. So you would ask how. There's what we call shards in Freeton, sharding. I won't want to go into all those development dev terms and all that, all those sharding, multi-threading and all that. So during that context, you have, as much as loads are being pushed on the main net, you have shards being formed, breaking up. The more the load is coming, the more they are breaking up, able to accommodate the transactions that are coming, be able to accommodate them. That's how it keeps expanding. The more it comes, the more it could take. So I could try to summarize going into different angle of Freeton, talking about different things. But I'll just tell you that Freeton is a blockchain that is really built for freedom. Yeah, let's have our centralizations hooked up to the central exchanges and all that, which is fine. I'm not talking against them. The government is doing fine, trying to really bring some form of censorship, which is fine. But then if you look at it critically, government are, let's not even go into what is happening in Nigeria. Yeah, because if you look, government are the biggest launderers, we all know that. But they are using those terms to want to cage the crypto space, trying to bring regulations. But I'm not against regulation. We should have regulations in exchanges. But then, if we're having blockchains, let us have censorship-resistant blockchain. Because, for instance, now let me go back to that Trump example, which we know is something that is going to become more prevalent as the day goes by. Facebook, Twitter, all those things are centralized entities. We all know that. They could just wake up now, they block your accounts. As the time goes on now, like how we are going into Web3, it gets to a stage that almost everything we do now will be using, our storage system will now be on blockchain. It will no longer be on maybe Amazon Web Service or Google Cloud or Microsoft Azure as time goes on. It's a phase that we're entering in, and you all know that. It's a phase we're entering in gradually. But then it's looking like the COVID is pushing everything faster, whereby it's like everything is getting increasingly automated. So that's the phase we are going in. And like one of the speakers say, what you know today, what you know now, could become obsolete very soon. Or it's even becoming obsolete in the next minutes, because there are some people somewhere working on something bigger than that, scaling it upwards. So the thing goes ahead on and on. So that's how centralization and decentralization is. I don't want to start going deep. I just want something that is happening with us. We can relate it on Freeton. And then Freeton, let me give a brief history of how Freeton was formed. I know you people are hearing Tone. Maybe some of you here might have heard about Tone, Telegram, the open network. So actually, when Telegram, Pavlodurov was trying to create that Telegram blockchain, he got into some SEC issues with US Security and Exchange Commission, his token distribution format, they weren't pleased with it and all that. So they decided to go, they had a court issue and all that, and then at some point he had to pull the plugs on trying to create it. But then we had developers that came together because it was open sourced. The codes here were open sourced. So the developers decided to continue the building. And then since then, the developers that are working on Freeton has been able to write more codes, build on top of that one, thousands of more codes. So the Freeton white paper now used to be the old Tone white paper, but now they've replaced it because what Freeton is doing is much bigger than what the original Tone was actually being created to be. So that was how Freeton got to form. And there wasn't, like I said, there wasn't any form of token sale, no form of ICO. It's bring value. Majority of us here are students. You have something you could bring. You could be a graphics designer. You could be good in PR. There's just basically anyone could have a place to fit in the Freeton. And in Africa here, we have guys from Kenya doing fantastic. And we are still developing. We are still getting bigger, expanding, trying to, like one of the speakers again said, that most of what is built on blockchain are actually designed for the emerging economies which Africa lies in. And I'm always passionate seeing young minds gather, talking about blockchain. I'm impressed. That's why I just said you should give the organizers a round of applause. They did fine. They did fine. I'm really, really impressed. Let me not really take us longer. If I say I should talk about Freeton, I could go into NFT, go into DeFi. There are different concepts there, and they are all doing fantastic. I know you will say what's different between the normal NFTs that we have in other blockchain and Freeton, which I wouldn't want to go inside, but then there are differences. And then talk about the DeFi. We just have our Tom Bridge who got launched some months ago, and then the TVL is really amazing. Looking at something that just launched or started some few months ago. So I wouldn't want to go into it. So thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Hosting. Hey, if by now you don't understand anything about blockchain, let me see hands up. Don't lie. If by now you don't understand anything, like everything they've been saying, at least 80% you don't understand, just raise up your hand. You, right? She only 1, 2, 3, 4. Wait, why are you people now lying? Okay. There are question and answers. There's a question and answer session rather. So I want you, do you have your questions down? Do you have questions? You obviously do now. Alright. So please just pass them to the ushers or to the protocol members. Please. Now we'll be having a magic act before the final speaker, before the panel session. So ladies and gentlemen, please make welcome Ibu the magician. You guys can do better. Better clap for him before he makes you disappear. Guy, don't touch me. Good, don't touch me.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ibu the magician, and I'm here to show you guys a few impossible things. Alright, I need 2 volunteers to come and join me up on stage here. Alright, I guess you and you. First, 2 people to come up here.
The Alaja. Okay.